Period. I'm so happy because I finally am doing one. I'm doing two in one day. Hi, whoever that is, please say hey. You can leave afterwards, so please say hey. But anyway, I'm finally doing one. Like I'm doing two today. Finally, I've been planning this. Been planning this. I have to do this from now on for me to finish. But oh my gosh, I'm so happy. So I have some snacks today. Because I just do. It's the end of the day, and I can do what I want. So. Okay. Do I not know how to read? Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Okay. So we're going to be going from Judges 5 to 15. We're going to be reading 5 through 15. Okay. Okay. So this is technically day 18. Day 18. Judges. What did I say? 5 through 15. Boom. So, you guys, I'm so happy. Like, finally doing two. All right. So, just like this morning, if it's something that we already covered, I'm gonna just read through it. I've already covered it. If not, then and if it goes together and it doesn't like break off, like some of the stories start at different times, then I'll just keep reading. Anyway, so starting at 5, it says, now when all the Amorite kings west of the Jordan and all the Canaanite kings along the coast heard of how the Lord dried up the Jordan River before the Israelites until we had crossed over, their hearts melted and no longer had the courage to face the Israelites. At that time, the Lord said to Joshua, make flint knives and circumcise the Israelites again. Oh, snap. This is Joshua. I'm like, that looks familiar. That's embarrassing. Okay, Judges. Okay. This is after Deborah. Okay, cool. Or Deborah, whatever. On that day, Deborah and Barak, son of Abinoam, sang this song. When the princes in Israel take the lead, when the people willingly offer themselves, praise the Lord. Hear this, you kings, listen, you rulers. I will sing the Lord. I will sing to the Lord. I will sing. I will make music to the Lord, the God of Israel. O Lord, when you went out from Seir, when you marched from the land of Edom, the earth shook, the heavens poured, the clouds poured. The heavens poured, the clouds poured down water. The mountains quaked before the Lord, one of Sinai before the Lord, the God of Israel. In the days of Shamgar, son of Anath, in the days of Jael, the roads were abandoned. Travelers took winding paths. Village life in Israel ceased until I, Deborah, arose a mother in Israel. When they chose new gods, word came to the city gates, and not a shield or a spear was seen amongst the 40,000 in Israel. My heart is with Israel's princes, with the willing volunteers amongst the people. Praise the Lord. You who ride on white donkeys, sitting on your saddle blankets, and you who walk along the road, consider the voice of singers at the watering places. They recite the righteous acts of the Lord, the righteous acts of his warriors in Israel. Then the people of the Lord went down to the city's gates. Wake up, Deborah. Wake up, break out in song. Arise, O Barak. Take captives, your captives, O son of Abinoam. Then the people who were left came down to the nobles. The people of the Lord came to me with mighty. Some came from Ephraim, whose roots were in Amalek, Benjamin was with the people who followed you. From Machir, captains came down. From Zebulun, those who bear a commander's staff. The princes of Issachar were with Deborah. Yes, Issachar was with Barak, rushing after him into the valley. In the districts of Reuben, there was much searching of heart. Why did you stay among the campfires to hear the whistling for flocks? In the districts of Reuben, there was much searching of heart. Gilead stayed beyond the Jordan. And Dan, why did he linger by the ships? Asher remained on the coast and stayed in his coves. The people of Zebulun risked their very lives, so did Naphtali on the heights of the field. Kings came, they fought. The kings of Canaan fought. Tanakh by the waters of Megiddo, but they carried off no silver nor plunder. From the heavens the stars fought for their courses. They fought against Sisera. The rivers Kishon swept them away. The age-old river, the river Kishon, march on my soul, be strong. Then thundered the horses' hoofs, galloping, galloping go his mighty steeds. Curse Meroz, said the angels of the Lord. Curse its people bitterly, because they did not come to help the Lord and help the Lord against the mighty. Most blessed is the womb of Yael, the wife of Heber the Kenite, the most blessing the tent dwelling woman. He asked for water, and she gave him milk in a bowl fit for nobles, and she brought him curdled milk. Her hand reached for the tent peg, and her right hand for the workman's hammer. She struck Sisera, and she crushed his head. She shattered and pierced his temple. At her feet he sank. He fell, there he lay. At her feet he sank, he fell. Where he sank, where he fell, dead. Through the window peered Sisera's mother. Behind the lactic she cried out, why is his chariot so long in coming? Why is the clatter of his chariots delayed? The wisest of her ladies answered her. Indeed, she keeps telling herself, are they not finding and dividing the spoils, a woman or two for each man? Colorful garments as plunder for Sisera, colorful garments highly embroidered garments for my neck, as all this as plunder. So may your enemies perish, O Lord. But may those who love you be like the sun when it rises in its strength. The land had peace for 40 years. Cool. That was a lot. Cool. Chapter 6. Again, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and for 7 years he gave them into the hands of the Midianites, because the power of Midian was so oppressive. The Israelites prepared shelters for themselves in mountain clefts, caves, and strongholds. Whenever the Israelites planted their crops, the Midianites, Amalekites, and other eastern peoples invaded the country. They camped on the land and ruined the crops. All the way into Gaza, and did not spare a living thing for Israel, neither sheep nor cattle nor donkeys. They came up with their livestock and their tents like swarms of locusts. It was impossible to count the men and their camels. They invaded the land to ravage it. Midian was so impoverished that the Israelites cried out to the Lord for help. When the Israelites cried out to the Lord because of Midian, he sent them a prophet who said, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I brought you up out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. I snatched you from the power of Egypt and from the hand of all of your oppressors. I drove them out before you and gave you their land. I said to you, I am the Lord your God. Do not worship the gods of the Amorites in whose land you live. But you had not listened to me. The angel of the Lord came and sat down under the oak of the Ophrah that belonged to Joash the Abiezrite, where his son Gideon was threshing wheat in winepress to keep it from the Midianites. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, the Lord is with you, mighty warrior. But Sir, Gideon replied, if the Lord is with us, why has all of this happened to us? Where are all of his wonders that our fathers told us about when they said, did not the Lord bring us out of Egypt? But now the Lord has abandoned us and put us in the hands of Midian. The Lord turned to him and said, go and have strength, and go in the strength that you have, and save Israel out of Midian's hand. Am I not sending you? But Lord, Gideon asked, how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I'm the least in my family. The Lord answered, I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites together. Gideon replied, if I now have found favor in your eyes, give me a sign that it is really you talking to me. Please do not go away until I come back, bringing my offerings and set it before you. And the Lord said, I will wait until you return. Gideon went in and prepared a young goat from an ephah of flour that he made bread without yeast. Putting the meat in the basket and its broth in the pot, he brought them out and offered them under his cloak. Under the oak. The angel of God said to him, Take the meat and unleavened bread and place them on the rock and pour out the broth. Gideon did so. With the tip of the staff that was in his hand, the angel of the Lord touched the meat and the unleavened bread. Fire flamed from the rock, consuming the meat and the bread, and the angel of the Lord disappeared. When Gideon realized it was the angel of the Lord, he exclaimed, O sovereign Lord, I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face. But the Lord said, Peace, do not be afraid, you are not going to die. So Gideon built an altar to the Lord there and called it The Lord is Peace. To this day it stands in Ophrah as the Abiez writes. The same night the Lord said to him, Take the second bull from your father's herd and the one 7 years old, tear down your father's altar to Baal, and cut down the Asherah pole beside it. Then build a proper kind of altar to the Lord your God on top of this height, using the wood of the Asherah pole that you can cut down of the second bull as a burnt offering. So Gideon took 10 of his servants and did what the Lord told him. But because he was afraid of his family and the men in the town, he did it at night rather than the daytime. In the morning, when the men of the town got up, there was Baal's altar, demolished with the Asherah pole beside it cut down, and the second bull sacrificed on the newly built altar. They asked each other, Who did this? When they carefully investigated, they told Gideon, son of Joash, did it. The men of the town demanded of Joash, Bring your son, he must die because he has broken down Baal's altar and cut down the Asherah pole beside it. But Joash replied to the hostile crowd around him, Are you going to plead Baal's cause? Are you trying to save him? Whoever fights for him shall be put to death by morning. If Baal really is a god, he can defend himself when somebody breaks down his altar. So that day they called Gideon Jerubbaal, saying that let Baal contend with him because he broke down Baal's altar. Now all of the Midianites, the Amalekites, and the other eastern peoples joined forces and crossed over the Jordan and camped in the valley of Jezreel. Then the Spirit of the Lord came upon Gideon, and he blew a trumpet, summoning the Abiezrites to follow him. He sent messengers throughout Manasseh, calling them to arms, and also into Asher, Zebulun, Naphtali. So they too went up to meet him. Gideon said to God, If you save Israel by my hand, as you promised, look, I will place a wool fleece on the threshing floor. If there is dew on the fleece and all the ground is dry, then I will know that you will save Israel by my hand, as you said. And that is what happened. Gideon rose early in the day. The next day, he squeezed the fleece, wrung out a bowl full of water. Then Gideon said to God, Do not be angry with me. Let me make one more request. Allow me one more test with the fleece. This time, make the fleece dry on the ground that is covered with dew. That night, God did so. Only the fleece was dry, and all the ground was covered with dew. Boom. So. I want to point out this. It says, so this is chapter 6. It says, but sir, 13, but sir, if the Lord is with us, why does all happen? And number 14, the Lord turned to him and said, Go in the strength that you have and save Israel out of Midian's hand. Am I not sending you? God sending us is the only thing that we need. God sending us is the only, I want to say thing. It's the only, not secure, not clear. I'm not going to say thing, but that's not what I want to say. Security, the only security, boom, that we need. We don't need nobody else telling us, go do this, go do that. You need this qualification. He said, go in the strength that you have. We already have, come on now. God, I'm saying, our past experiences bless us with skills and tools to go out. To go out in the strength that we have. That we have. Boom. All right. So early in the morning, Jerubbaal, that's Gideon, and all his men camped at the spring of Harod. The camp of Midian was north of them in the valley near the hill of Moreh. The Lord said to Gideon, "You have too many men for me to deliver Midian into their hands, in order that God may not boast against me, that her own strength has saved her." And announced to the people, "Anyone who trembles with fear may turn back and leave Mount Gilead." So 22,000 men left, while 10,000 remained. But the Lord said to Gideon, "There are still too many. Take them down to the water, and I will sift them for you there. If I say this one shall go with you, he shall go. But if I say this one shall not go with you, he shall not go." Man, like that. So Gideon took the men down to the water, and the Lord said to them, "Separate those who lap their water with their tongues like a dog, and those who kneel down to drink." 300 men lapped with their hands to their mouth, and the rest got down on their knees to drink. The Lord said to Gideon, "With the 300 men that lapped, I will save you and give the Midianites into your hand. Let all the other men go to each his own place." So Gideon sent the rest of the Israelites to their tent, but kept 300, who took over the provisions and trumpets of others. Now the camp of Gideon lay low below him in the valley. During the night, the Lord said to Gideon, "Get up and go down against the camp, because I'm going to give it to your hands. If you are afraid to attack, go down to the camp with your servant Purah and listen to what they are saying. Afterwards, you will be encouraged to attack the camp." So he and his servant went down to the outposts of the camp. The Midianites, the Amalekites, and all the other eastern people had settled in the valley as thick as locusts. Their camels could no more be counted than the sand on the seashore. Gideon arrived just as the man was telling his friend his dream. "I had a dream," he was saying. "A round loaf of barley bread came tumbling into the Midianite camp. It struck the tent with so much force that the tent overturned and collapsed." His friend responded, "This can be nothing other than the sword of Gideon, son of Joash, the Israelite. God has given the Midianites and the whole camp into his hands." Then, when Gideon heard the dream and its interpretation, he worshiped God. He returned to the camp of Israel and called out, "Get up. The Lord has given the Midianite camp into your hands." Oh. Dividing 300 men into three companies, he placed trumpets and empty jars in the hands of all of them with torches inside. "Watch me," he told them. "Follow my lead. When I get to the edge of the camp, do exactly as I do. When I and all that are with me blow our trumpets, then from all around the camp blow yours and shout for the Lord, and for Gideon." Gideon and the 100 men with him reached the edge of the camp at the beginning of the middle watch, just after they had changed the guards. They blew their trumpets and broke their jars that were in their hand. 3 companies blew their trumpets and smashed their jars, grasping the torches in their left hands and holding on the right the trumpets they were to blow. They shouted, "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon," while each man held his position around the camp. All the Midianites ran, crying out as they fled. Then the 300 trumpets sounding, the Lord caused the men throughout the camp to turn on each other with swords. The army fled to Beth Shittah towards Zerara, as far as the border of Abel Mahola near Tabbath. Israelites from Naphtali, Asher, and Naphtali, Asher, and all the Manasseh were called out. They were pursued by the Midianites. Gideon sent messengers throughout the hill country of Ephraim, saying, "Come down against the Midianites and seize the waters of the Jordan ahead of them as far as Beth Barah." So all the men of Ephraim were called out, and they took the waters of the Jordan as far as Beth Barah. And they captured 2 of the Midianite leaders, Oreb and Zeb. They killed Oreb at the rock of Oreb, and they killed Zeb at the winepress of Zeb. They pursued the Midianites and brought the heads of Oreb and Zeb to Gideon, who was by the Jordan. Wow. Again, God uses impossible missions to show his power. He just made the camp go from 22,000 men left And there were still, so 30,000 to 300. 30,000 to 300 men, boom, took over cities that had camels as numerous as the sand. Wow. God is amazing. God is amazing. Okay. Let me put a thing right here. So we're going to read to 350. We're at 338. Okay, we got this. We're at 339. So now the Ephraimites and asked Gideon, why have you treated us like this? Why didn't you call us when you went to fight Midian? As they criticized him sharply. Then he answered, what have I accomplished compared to you? Aren't you the gleanings of Ephraim's grapes better than the full grape harvest of Abiezer? God gave Oreb and Zeb, the Midianite leaders, into your hands. What was I able to do compared to you? At this, their resentment against him subsided. Gideon and his 300 men, exhausted yet keeping up the pursuit, came to the Jordan and crossed it. He said to the men of Succoth, give my troops some bread, and they are worn out, and I'm still pursuing Zebah and Zalmunna, the kings of Midian. But the officials of Succoth said, do you already have the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna in your possession? Why should we give bread to your troops? Then Gideon replied, and just for that, when the Lord gives me Zebah and Zalmunna into my hands, I will tear your flesh with desert thorns and briars. From there, he went up to Peniel and made the same request of them, but they answered as the same way as Succoth had. When he said to the men, when I return in triumph, I will tear down this tower. Now Zebah and Zalmunna were in Karkar with a force of about 15,000 men. All of them were left of the armies of the eastern people. 120,000 swordsmen had fallen. Gideon went up by the route of the nomads east of Nobah and I don't know, and fell upon the unsuspecting army. Zebah and Zalmunna, the two kings of Midian, fled, but he pursued them and captured them, routing their entire army. Gideon, son of Joash, then returned to the battle of the pass of Heres, and he caught a young man of Succoth and questioned him. He said, the young man wrote down him the names of the 77 officials of Succoth, the elders of the town. Then Gideon came and said to the men of Succoth, here are Zebah and Zalmunna, and about whom you taunt me, saying, do you already have the hands of them in your possession? Why should we give bread to your exhausted men? He took the elders of the town and taught the men of Succoth a lesson by punishing them with desert thorns and briars. He also pulled down the tower of Peniel and killed the men of the town. Then he said to Zebah and Zalmunna, what kind of men did you kill at Tabor? Men like you, they answered, each one with bearing of a prince. Gideon replied, those are my brothers, the sons of my own mother, and surely as the Lord lives, if you spared their lives, I would not kill you. Turning into Jether, his oldest son, he said, kill them. But Jether did not draw his sword because he was only a boy and was afraid. Zebah and Zalmunna said, come, do it yourself, as is the man, so is his strength. So Gideon stepped forward and killed them and took ornaments off their camels' necks. The Israelites said to Gideon, rule over us, you, your son, your grandson, because you have saved us out of the hands of Midian. But Gideon told them, I will not rule over you, nor my son will rule over you. The Lord will only rule over you. He said, I do have one request, that each of you give me an earring from your share of the plunder. This was the custom of the Ishmaelites to wear golden rings. They answered, we'll be glad to give them to you. So they spread out a garment, and each man threw a ring from his plunder onto it. The weight of the gold rings he asked for came to be 1,700 shekels. Ooh, sorry. Not counting the ornaments, the pendants, and the purple garments worn by the kings of Midian, or the chain that was worn on the camels' necks. Gideon made into gold into a ephod, which he placed on Ophrah, his town. All Israel prostituted themselves by worshiping it there, and it became a snare to Gideon and his family. Wow. She plays. Wow, of course. Of course, he was following God, and then he didn't. Thus, Midian was subdued before the Israelites and did not raise its head again. During Gideon's lifetime, the land enjoyed peace for 40 years. Jerubbaal, son of Joash, went back home to live. He had 70 sons of his own, for he had many wives. His concubine, who lived in Shittim, also bore him a son, whom he named Abimelech. Gideon's son of Joash died at the good old age and was buried in the tomb of his father Joash in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. No sooner than Gideon had died, the Israelites again prostituted themselves to Baals. They set up a Baal Berith as their god and did not remember the Lord their God who rescued them from the hands of all the enemies on every side. They also failed to show kindness to the family of Jerubbaal, which is Gideon, for all the good things that he had done for them. Abimelech, son of Jerubbaal, went to his mother's brothers in Shittim and said to them in all his mother's clan, ask all the citizens of Shittim, which is better for you, to have 70 of Jerubbaal's sons rule over you, or just one. Remember that I'm your flesh and blood. Wait, who was he again? This is Gideon's son. Okay, cool. When the brothers repeated all this to the cities of Shittim, they were all inclined to follow Abimelech, and they said, he is our brother. They gave him 70 shekels of silver from the temple of Baal Berith, and Abimelech used it to hire reckless adventurers who became his followers. He went to his father's home in Ophrah, and on one stone murdered his 70 brothers, the sons of Jerubbaal. But Jonathan, the youngest son of Jerubbaal, escaped by hiding. Then all the citizens of Shittim and Beth Millo gathered beside the great tree at the pillar of Shittim to crown Abimelech king. Wow. When Jotham, it's not Jonathan, sorry, it's Jotham. That's the youngest son that escaped. When Jotham was told about this, he climbed to the top of the Mount Gerizim and shouted, listen to me, cities of Shittim, so God may listen to you. One day the trees went to anoint the kings for themselves, and they said to the olive tree, be our king. But the olive tree answered, should I give up my oil, which both gods and men are honored, to hold sway over the trees? Next the tree said to the fig tree, come and be our king. But the fig tree responded, should I give up my fruit, so good and so sweet, to hold sway over the trees? Then the tree said to the vine, come and be our king. But the vine answered, should I give up my wine, which cheers both gods and men, to hold sway over the trees? Finally, all the trees said to the thorn bush, come and be our king. The thorn bush said to the trees, if you really want to anoint me as king over you, come and take refuge in my shade. But if not, then let fire come out of the thorn bush and consume the cedars of Lebanon. Now, if you had acted honorably in a good faith when you made Abimelech, I don't know if it's Abimelech or Abimelech, so I don't know, king, if you had been fair to Jerubbaal and his family, if you had treated them as he deserves, and to think that my father fought for you, risked his life to rescue you from the hand of Midian. But today you revolted against my father's family, murdered his 70 sons on a single stone, and made Abimelech, the son of his slave girl, over the slave girl, over the citizens of Shittim, because he's your brother. If then you acted honorably and in any good faith towards Jerubbaal and his family today, may Abimelech be your joy, and may you be his too. But if you have not, let fire come out from Abimelech and consume you, citizens of Shechem and Beth Millo, and let fire come out from you, citizens of Shechem and Beth Millo, consume Abimelech. Then Jotham fled, escaping to Beer, and he lived there because he was afraid of his brother Abimelech. After Abimelech had governed over Israel for 3 years, God sent an evil spirit between Abimelech and the citizens of Shechem, who acted treacherously against Abimelech. God did this in order that the crime against Jerubbaal, 70 sons, the shedding of their blood, may be avenged on their brother Abimelech and the other citizens of Shechem who had helped him murder his sons. In opposition to him, these citizens of Shechem sent men to the hilltops to ambush and rob everyone who passed by, and this was reported to Abimelech. Now Gal, son of Abed, moved with his brother Shechem and his citizens and put their confidence in him. After they had gone into the fields and gathered the grapes and trodden them, they held a festival in the temple of their gods. While they were eating and drinking, they cursed Abimelech. Then Gaal, son of Ebed, said, Who is Abimelech and who is Shechem that we should be subject to him? Isn't he Jerub's son? And isn't Zebul his deputy? Serve the men of Hamor, Shechem's father. Why should we serve Abimelech? If only this people were under my command, then I would get rid of him. I would say, Abimelech, call out your whole army. Then Zebul, the governor of the city, heard of what Gaal, son of Abel, said, and he was very angry. Undercover, he sent messengers to Abimelech, saying, Gaal, son of Ebed, and his brothers have come to Shechem and are stirring up the city against you. Now then, during the night, you and your men should come and lie in wait in the fields in the morning at sunrise and advance in the city. When Gaal and his men come out against you, do whatever your hand finds to do. So Abimelech and his troops set out by night and took up concealed positions near Shechem in 4 companies. Now Gaal, son of Ebed, had gone out and was standing at the entrance to the city just as Abimelech and his soldier came out from their hiding place. When Gaal saw them, he said to Zebul, Look, people are coming down from the tops of the mountains. Zebul said, You mistake the shadows of the mountains for men. But Gaal spoke again. Look, people are coming down from the center of the land, and the company is coming from the direction of the soothsayer's tree. Then Zebul said to him, Where's your big talk now? You said Abimelech, who was Abimelech that we should be subject to him? Aren't these the men you ridiculed? Go out and fight them. So Gaal led out the citizens of Shechem and fought Abimelech. Abimelech chased him, and many fell wounded in flight, all the way to the entrance to the gate. Abimelech stayed in Arumah, and Zebul drove Gaal and his brothers out of Shechem. The next day, the people of Shechem went out to the fields, and this was reported to Abimelech. So he took his men and divided them into 3 companies and set an ambush in the fields. When he saw the people coming from the city, he rose to attack them. Abimelech and the companies with him rushed forward to the position at the entrance of the city gate. Then 2 companies rushed on the fields and struck them down. All that day, Abimelech pressed his attack against the city until he had captured it and killed his people. Then he destroyed the city and scattered salt over it. On hearing this, the citizens in the tower of Shechem went to the stronghold of the temple of El Berith. When Abimelech heard they had assembled there, he and his men went up to Mount Zalmon, and he took an axe and cut off some of its branches, which he lifted on his shoulders, and he ordered the men, Quick, do what you have seen me do. So all the men with branches followed Abimelech. They piled them against the stronghold and set it on fire over the people inside. So all the people in the tower, about 1,000 men and women, also died. Wow. Toxic. Next, Abimelech went to Thephes and besieged it and captured it. Inside the city, however, was a strong tower to which all the men and women on all the city fled. They locked themselves in and climbed up to the tower roof. Abimelech went to the tower and stormed it. But as he approached the entrance of the tower to set on fire, a woman dropped an upper millstone on his head and cracked his skull. Hurriedly, he called to his armor bearer, Draw your sword and kill me so that they can't say a woman killed him. So his servant ran him through and he died. Okay. When the Israelites saw that Abimelech was dead, they went home. Thus God repaid the wickedness that Abimelech had done to his father by murdering his 70 brothers. God also made the men of Shechem pay for all their wickedness. The curse of Jotham was a son of Jerubbaal came on them. Whew. Oh, y'all, I'm like sitting on this pillow, and I don't know if like I'll be sleeping funny. But man, oh man, my back, my neck. Like I need to go to the chiropractor. Whew. I'm a little sleepy. I'm going to bless this live. I'm gonna bless. No, I'm not even gonna bless them, but I'm gonna bless this channel because period. People are gonna start coming, and I'm gonna start watching, and I'm gonna change somebody's life. I'm gonna change multiple people's lives because of God, not because of me. But God's gonna change their life through me by watching these videos because they're gonna see, oh my gosh, she reads the Bible, and this, and I love this about the Bible, and I'm gonna be like, yep, 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 yep. And God is going to show Himself to them through me. Period. I claim it. Okay. Tola. So after the time of Abimelech, a man of Issachar, Tola son of Puah, the son of Doda, rose to save Israel. He lived in Shamar in the hill county of Ephraim. He led Israel 23 years, and then he died and was buried in Shamar. Jair. He was followed by Jair of Gilead, who led Israel 22 years. He had 30 sons who rode 30 donkeys, and they controlled 30 towns in Gilead, to which these days are called the Havoth Jair. When he died, he was buried in Kamon. Again, the Israelites did an evil thing in the Lord's eyes, and they served Baals and Ashtoreths, and the gods of Aram, the gods of Sidon, the gods of Moab, the gods of the Ammonites, the gods of the Philistines. And because the Israelites forsook the Lord and no longer served him, he became angry with them. He sold them into the hands of the Philistines, into the Ammonites, who had the years shattered and crushed them. For 18 years, they oppressed the Israelites on the east side of the Jordan in Gilead, the land of the Amorites. The Ammonites also crossed the Jordan to fight against Judah, Benjamin, and the house of Ephraim, and Israel was in great distress. Then the Israelites cried out to the Lord, "We have sinned against you, forsaking our God, serving Baals." The Lord replied, "When the Egyptians and the Amorites and the Ammonites and the Meodians and the Amalekites and the Maonites oppressed you, you cried out for me for help. But did I not save you from their hands? You have forsaken me and served other gods, so I will no longer save you. Go and cry out to the gods that you've chosen. Let them save you when you are in trouble." But the Israelites said to the Lord, "We have sinned. Do with us whatever you think is best, but please rescue us now." When they got rid of the foreign gods among them and served the Lord, he could not bear Israel's misery no longer. When the Ammonites were called to arms and camped in Gilead, the Israelites assembled and camped at Mizpah. The leaders of the people of Gilead said to each other, "Whoever will launch an attack against the Ammonites will be the head of all of those living in Gilead." Oh Lord, we're almost there. Let's remind it correctly. Just one time. First of all, actually, that was chapter 10. But we cannot try to serve other gods and then want to cry out to the Lord to save us. We can't. I'm gonna say I cannot try to serve other gods, then cry to the Lord to help save me. God said, "Cry to the gods that y'all was worshiping," and that's on period. So it says, Jephthah, the Gileadite, was a mighty warrior. His father was Gilead. His mother was a prostitute. Gilead's wife also bore him sons, and when they grew up, they drove Jephthah away. "You are not going to get an inheritance of our family," they said, "because you are a son of another woman." So Jephthah fled from his brothers and settled into the land of Tob, where a group of adventurers gathered around him and followed him. Sometime later, when the Ammonites made war on Israel, the leaders of Gilead went up to get Jephthah from the land of Tob. "Come," they said, "be our commander so we can fight against the Ammonites." Jephthah said to them, "Didn't you hate me and drive me from my father's house? Why did you come to me now when you're in trouble?" The elders of Gilead said to him, "Nevertheless, we are turning to you now. Come with us to fight the Ammonites, and you will be our head over all those that live in Gilead." Jephthah answered, "Suppose you take me back to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gives them to me. Will I really be your head?" The elders of Gilead replied, "The Lord is our witness, so we will certainly do as you say." So Jephthah went to the elders of Gilead, and the people made him head and commander over them. He repeated all of his words before the Lord in Mizpah. Then Jephthah sent messengers to the Ammonite king with a question. What do you have against us that you have attacked our country? The king of the Ammonites answered Jephthah's messengers and said, when Israel came up out of Egypt, they took away my land from the Arnon to the Jabbok, all the way to the Jordan. Now give it back peacefully. Jephthah sent messengers to the Ammonite king, saying, "This is what Jephthah says: Israel did not take the land of Moab or the land of the Ammonites, but they came up out of Egypt. Israel went through the desert of the Red Sea and on Kadesh. I'm so sorry. Then Israel sent messengers to the king of Edom, saying, 'Give us permission to go through your country.' But the king of Edom would not listen. They sent also to the king of Moab, but he refused. So Israel stayed in Kadesh. Next, they traveled through the desert, skirted the lands of Edom and Moab, and passed along the eastern side of the country of Moab, and camped on the other side of the Arnon. They did not enter the territory of Moab, for the Arnon was its border. Then Israel said to the messengers of Shihon, king of the Amorites, who ruled in Heshbon, and said to him, 'Let us pass through your country to our own place.' Sihon, however, did not trust Israel to pass through his territory. He mustered up all his men and encamped at the Jahaz and fought with Israel. Then the Lord, the God of Israel, said to Sihon and his men in Israel's hands, and they defeated him. Israel took over the land of the Amorites who lived in that country, capturing all from the Arnon to the Jabbok, from the desert to the Jordan. Now, since the Lord, the God of Israel, has driven the Amorites out before his people of Israel, what right have you to take it over? Will you not take your God Chemosh, what your God Chemosh gives you? Likewise, whatever the Lord our God has given us, we will possess. Are you better than Balak, the son of Zippor, the king of Moab? Did he ever quarrel with Israel or fight with them? For 300 years, Israel occupied Heshbon, Aroer, the surrounding settlements, and all the towns along the Arnon. Why didn't you retake them during that time? I have not wronged you, but you are doing me wrong by waging war against me. Let the Lord, the judge, decide the dispute this day between the Israelites and the Ammonites." The king of the king of Ammon, however, paid no attention to the message that Jephthah sent him. Then the Spirit of the Lord came upon Jephthah, and he crossed Gilead and Manasseh, and passed through Mizpah of Gilead, and from there he advanced against the Ammonites. And Jephthah made a vow to the Lord: "If you give the Ammonites into my hands, whatever comes out of the door of my house to meet me when I return Whatever comes out of the door of my house to meet me when I return in triumph from the Ammonites will be the Lord's, and I will sacrifice it as a burnt offering." Then Jephthah went over to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gave them into his hands. He devastated 20 towns from the Aroer to the vicinity of Meneth, as far as Abel Keramim. Thus Israel subdued Ammon. When Jephthah returned to his home in Mizpah, who should come out to meet him but his daughter dancing to the sound of the tambourines? She was only a child. Except for her, he had neither son nor daughter. When he saw her, he tore his clothes and cried, "My daughter, you have made me miserable and wretched, because I made a vow to the Lord that I cannot break." "My father," she responded, "you have given your word to the Lord. Do to me as you promised, now that the Lord has avenged your enemies, the Ammonites. But grant me this one request. Give me 2 months to roam the hills and weep with my friends, because I will never marry." "You may go," he said, and he let her go for 2 months. She and the girls went into the hills and wept because she would never marry. Girl, you finna die, you talk about marrying somebody? What? After the 2 months, she returned to her father, and he did to her as he vowed, and she was a virgin. From this comes the Israelite custom that each year the young women of Israel should go to 4 days to commemorate the daughters of Jephthah the Gileadite. Two more? Okay, we got this. So the men of Ephraim called out their forces and crossed the Zaphon and said to Jephthah, "Why did you fight the Ammonites without calling us to go with you? We're going to burn down your house over your head." "Why?" "I and my people were engaged in a great struggle with the Ammonites, and also I called. You didn't save me out of their hands. When I saw that you wouldn't help, I took life into my hands and crossed over to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gave me victory over them. Now why have you come up today to fight me?" Jephthah then called together the men of Gilead and fought against Ephraim. The Gileadites struck them down because the Ephraimites said, "You Gileadites are renegades from Ephraim and Manasseh." The Gileadites captured the fords of the Jordan, leading the Ephraim, and whenever a survivor of the Ephraim said cross over, the men of Gilead asked, "Are you an Ephraimite?" And if you replied no, they said, "All right, say Shibboleth." If he said Shibboleth because he could not pronounce the word correctly, they seized him and killed him at the fords of the Jordan. 42,000 Ephraimites were killed at that time. Jephthah led Israel 6 years. Then Jephthah the Gileadite died and was buried in the town of Gilead. Whew. After him, Isban of Bethlehem led Israel. He had 30 sons and 30 daughters. He gave his daughters away in marriage to those outside his clan, and for his sons he brought 30 young women as wives from outside his clan. That's not supposed to happen. Isban led Israel for 7 years. Then Isban died and was buried in Bethlehem. After him, Elon, son of the Zebulunite, led Israel for 10 years. Then Elon died and was buried in Ajalon in the land of Zebulun. After him, Abdon, son of Hillel from Pirathon, led Israel. He had 40 sons and 30 grandsons who rode on 70 donkeys. He led Israel for 8 years. Then Abdon, son of Hillel, died and was buried at Pirathon in Ephraim in the hill country of the Amalekites. Okay, now we're at the birth of Samson. So, again, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and so the Lord delivered them into the hands of the Philistines for 40 years. A certain man of Zorah named Manoah from the clans of the Danites had a wife who was sterile and remained childless. The angel of the Lord appeared to her, and he said, "You are sterile and childless, but you are going to conceive and have a son. Now see to it that you drink not wine or fermented drink, that you do not eat anything unclean, because you will conceive and give birth to a son. No razor may be used on his head, because the boy is to be a Nazarite and set apart to God from birth, and he will begin the deliverance of Israel from the hands of the Philistines." Then the woman went to her husband and told him, "A man of God came to me and looked like an angel of God. Very awesome. I did not ask him where he came from, and he did not tell me his name. But he said, 'You will conceive and give birth to a son. Now then drink no wine nor fermented drink, and do not eat anything unclean, because the boy will be a Nazarite of God from birth until the day of his death.' Then Manoah prayed to the Lord, 'O Lord, I beg you to let the man of God you sent us come by to teach us how to bring up a boy to be born.' God heard Manoah, and the angel of God came down to the woman when she was out of the field, but her husband Manoah was not with her. The woman hurried to tell her husband, 'He's here, but the man who appeared to me the other day.' Manoah got up and followed his wife, and he came to the man. 'Are you the one who talked to my wife?' 'I am,' he said. So Manoah asked him, 'When your words are so fulfilled, what is to be the rule for the boy's life and work?' The angel of the Lord replied, 'Your wife must do all that I have told her. She must not eat anything that comes from a grapevine, nor drink any wine or other fermented drink, nor eat anything unclean. She must do everything that I commanded her.' Manoah said to the angel of the Lord, 'We would like you to stay until we prepare a young goat for you.' The angel of the Lord responded, 'Even though you detain me, I will not eat any of your food, but if you prepare a burnt offering, offer it to the Lord.' When Manoah inquired the angel of the Lord, 'What is your name, so we may honor you when your word comes true?' He replied, 'Why do you ask my name? It is beyond understanding.' Then Manoah took a young goat together with the grain of offering and sacrificed it on a rock to the Lord. The Lord did an amazing thing while Manoah, his wife, watched. As the flame blazed up from the altar towards the heaven, the angel of the Lord ascended in the flame. Seeing this, Manoah and his wife fell with their faces to the ground. When the angel of the Lord did not show himself again to Manoah and his wife, Manoah realized that it was the angel of the Lord. 'We are doomed to die,' he said to his wife. 'We have seen God.' But his wife answered, 'If the Lord had meant to kill us, he would have not accepted our burnt offering and grain offering from our hands, nor shown us these things, nor told us this.' The woman gave birth to a boy and named him Samson. He grew, and the Lord blessed him. And the Spirit of the Lord began to stir him while he was in Menane Dan between Zorah and Eshtaol." Okay, where did he come from? So this is the clan of the Danites. Okay. So now it's Samson's marriage. So Samson went down to Timnah and saw there a young Philistine woman No, not supposed to move no Philistine woman. When he returned, he said to his father and mother, I have seen a Philistine woman in Timnah. Now get her for me as my wife. His father and mother replied, Isn't there an acceptable woman among your relatives, among all of our people? Must you go to the uncircumcised Philistines to get a wife? But Samson said to his father, Get her for me. She is the right one for me. Samson went down to Timnah together with his mother and father. As they approached the vineyards of Timnah, suddenly a young lion came roaring out to him. The Spirit of the Lord came to him in a power, so that he tore the lion apart with his bare hands, as he may have torn a young goat. But he told neither his father nor his mother what he'd done. Then he went down and talked with the woman, and he liked her. Sometime later, when he went back to marry her, he turned aside to look at the lion's carcasses. In it was a swarm of bees and some of honey, which he scooped out with his hands and ate as he went along. When he rejoined with his parents, he gave them some, and they too ate it. But he did not tell them that it was taken from the lion's carcass. Isn't that wait, isn't the dead animal wait, isn't the dead animal like considered dirty? If I'm correct, I think it's considered dirty. So now they're dirty, technically, I think. Anyway, now his father went down to see the woman, and Samson made a feast there as customary for bridegrooms. When he appeared, he was given 30 companions. Let me tell you a riddle, Samson said. If you can give me the answer within 7 days of the feast, I will give you 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. If you can't tell me the answer, you must give me 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. Tell us the riddle, they said. Sorry, let's hear it. He said, out of the eater, something to eat, out of the strong, something sweet. For 3 days, they could not give the answer. On the fourth day, they said to Samson's wife, Coax your husband into explaining the riddle for us, or we will burn you and your father's household to death. Did you invite us here to rob us? Then Samson's wife threw herself on him. Simon, you hate me. You don't really love me. You've given my people a riddle, but you haven't told me the answer. I haven't explained it to my father or mother, he replied, so why would I explain it to you? She cried the whole 7 days of the feast. So on the seventh day, he finally told her because she continued to press him. She, in turn, explained the riddle to her people. Before sunset on the seventh day, the men of the town said to him, What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion? Samson said to them, If you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle. Then the Spirit of the Lord came upon him in power, and he went to Ashkelon and struck down 30 of their men, stripped them of their belongings, and gave their clothes to those who had explained the riddle. Burning with anger, he went to his father's house, and Samson's wife was given to the friend who had attended him at his wedding. So she's already giving cheater vibes. Anyway, later on, at the time of the wheat of harvest, Samson took a young goat and went to visit his wife. He said, I'm going to visit my wife's room, but the father would not let him go. I was sure you thoroughly hated her, he said. I gave her to your friend. Isn't her younger sister more attractive? Take her instead. Samson said to them, This time I have a right to get even with the Philistines, and I will really harm them. So he went out and caught 300 foxes and tied them tail to tail in pairs. He then fastened a torch to every pair of tails and lit the torches and let the foxes loose in the standing grain of the Philistines. He burned up the shocks and standing grain together with vineyards and olive groves. When the Philistines asked who did this, they were told Samson, the Timnite's son-in-law, because his wife was given to his friend. So the Philistines went up and burned her and her father to death. Samson said to them, Since you've acted like this, I won't stop until I get my revenge on you. He attacked them viciously and slaughtered many of them. Then he went down and stayed in a cave in a rock of Edom. The Philistines went up and camped in Judah, spreading near Lehi. The men of Judah asked, Why have you come to fight us? We have come to take Samson prisoner, to do him as he did to us. Then 3,000 men from Judah went down to the cave in the rock of Edom and said to Samson, Don't you realize that the Philistines are rulers over us? What have you done to us? He said, I merely did to them what they did to me. They said, We've come to tie you up and hand you to the Philistines. Samson said, Swear to me that you won't kill me yourselves. Agreed, they answered. We will only tie you up and hand you over to them. We will not kill you. So they bound him with 2 new ropes and led him up from the rock. As he approached Lehi, The Philistines came toward him, shouting. The Spirit of the Lord came upon him in power, and the ropes of his arms became like charred flax, and the bindings dropped from his hand. Finding a fresh jawbone of a donkey, he grabbed it and struck down a thousand men. Then Samson said, "With the donkey's jawbone, I have made donkeys out of them. With the donkey's jawbone, I have killed 1,000 men." What bars? When he finished speaking, he threw away the jawbone, and the place was called Ramath Lehi. Because he was very thirsty, he cried out to the Lord, "You have given your servant this very victory. Now I must die of thirst and fall into the hands of the uncircumcised." Then God opened up a hollow place in Lehi, and the water came out of him. When Samson drank, his strength returned, and he revived. So the spring was called En Hakor, and it's still there in Lehi. Samson led Israel for 20 years in the days of the Philistines. Wow, so that was a lot. So we definitely see that Samson's tripping. Like he act like he don't know. Like what, Samson? You know better. Like sister's tripping. Why you want to get her back? But that's how we be when something happens to us and we just want to, get back. But what I will say is that we're starting to see, like, just take the names away. All of these judges, like, we're just starting to see, like, yes, somebody rises and they fall, and they rise and they fall, and they rise and they fall, and they come and they go, they come and they go, they come and go. But God is forever. And so, look at my knees. God is forever. So they're going through all these judges, and God is forever. So I'm gonna put God is constant / consistent. He is a rock and never changes. Boom. He wins all battles. And he never dies. Also, something I want to point out is if you pay attention, over time, these judges are getting more and more like, not against God, but like they're doing things like, for example, marrying somebody outside of their clan, setting up a gold, whatever, ephod or whatever, not destroying, like they're doing like just small things that are just further and further away from God compared to like Moses and Joshua. Like those are the leaders that they started off with, and now they're just, they just keep forgetting who God is. And so I just want to make a note of that. All of these judges are slowly but surely further from God than the one before. What was I gonna say anything about Samson? Samson's sneaky. He keeps sneaking, and he's sneaking, and he's goofy because he told sis, and sis told her people. So obviously, you can't be out here just trusting in your body. But anyway, that was the reading for today. Today was actually a little quicker than normal. So yes, I will see you guys in the morning. I'm so grateful that I was able to do this tonight. Period. And look at how much we're getting through. Like, y'all, look at this. This is good. We've read this. This is really good. I'm excited. I'm truly excited. Truly. So I will see you guys tomorrow in the morning. And if you ever watch this, please share. I don't have like a lot of views or anything, but it's okay because this is for God and this is for like me to get a relationship with God. And I don't really be sharing this anyway because I be a little shy. But if you see this and you want to share it with somebody, share it. And that's it. So I'll see you in the morning.